being a part of tonight's conversation. This is Through the Eyes of Others with Aaron and Lisa Kaye, my sidekick and partner in crime. This is our time, right, where we have conversations with extraordinary people. And I tell you this every week, and I'm going to tell you again, we have such an extraordinary person with us tonight. Conversations with extraordinary people about their lives of resilience, wellness, and healing. This is our time to be able to see life through the eyes of others. As you know, I'm a firm believer that when we only see life through our eyes, we have a distorted view of life. We're seeing life this way by sharing the thoughts, the conversations, the experiences, the viewpoints, the opinions of others. We have a tendency to grow a broader view of life, and it allows us to be more available for those who need us, to be more available for those who need our support, for those who need our hand around the shoulder, for those who need our encouragement, because we get to see the world through their eyes. And so through the eyes of others is this opportunity for us to be able to hear what others see and how they did it, right? How they built their wellness and recovery. And maybe, just maybe, we'll hear something that we can add to our arsenal, we can put in our toolbox. And if nothing else, we get to say yes to the good stories that we hear. So without any further ado, my sidekick, my partner, Lisa Kaye. Lisa, how are you on this magnificently wonderful Wednesday? What's going on with you down in South Carolina?
Well, hello. Thank you, Aaron. Well, it's been 12 hours since I've been on live. This morning, it is just as nice right now as was this morning. It's just a little bit lighter right now. But I'm doing great. And I just want to share through my eyes today. I got to witness on my 6-year anniversary at PRN. I got to see a beautiful thing, and I just want to share it quickly because we're all about recovery, and we're all about meeting people where they are and really hearing. And Aaron, I just want to shout out you today because, I see you in so many different roles, from an administrator to a supervisor and a leader in the recovery courts, meeting and, hashing things out with the higher up, so to speak, over at the courts and in leadership. But today you took all that off and you were Aaron, the peer support specialist, and it was a beautiful sight. And I watched you and Miss Sharon Galuski work out an amazing plan for someone who decided they wanted a different life. And you guys pulled it off. You guys pulled it together, and you're out running around like a peer support specialist, doing what we do, helping that person get settled, talking to them, listening to their thoughts and ideas, and maybe some of the scarcities about going into treatment. And I know you did a great job helping this person get ready to embark on a new life that will start. It actually started today with the decision, but you will be also a lot going with him as he embarks on this tomorrow, this new journey. And I just wanted to share. I got to see that unfold today. You and Sharon sitting on the porch at PRN and rocking chairs, rocking it out, literally rocking it out, and tapping into every resource, calling all the folks that we know to call. And you guys did the damn thing. And I just want to shout out you today, and that I got to see a beautiful thing. And that's what we do as peer support specialists, is we it's a privilege to walk with people in their journeys. And I got to stand back. I helped a little bit, but I got to stand back and watch 2 recovery champions just ring that bell and make everything fall into place, and did it in such a mutual way with this person that they felt like they had voice and choice. And I heard that today from this person as they shared with me some of their thoughts. It was obvious to me that you guys gave him a voice and a choice, and that set him on a path of success. So I just want to shout you out, and that was through my eyes today.
Lisa Kaye, I really appreciate that. It's just important that we be ready to serve, right? It's what we do. We shared this morning in our staff meeting with our folks. Self-care is 1A, but the people that come that are brought into I'm a God man. So the people that God brings into our presence to serve, that's 1B. We've got to be ready to serve them. So the reason that we take such good care, we dig in with our personal self-care so that we're ready when it's time to ring the bell. And so thank you for that. And I got to throw it back at you. This is what we do. And I have seen you do that so many times, right? Just it's time to load them up, move them out, get them to where we know that the help is. So it's an honor to be a part of an absolutely great team. And we'll be talking to one of our wonderful teammates tonight in just a few minutes, right? We get to share this. So thank you so much on behalf of Sharon. And I want to send a shout out to Sharon G. Those of you who come out or watch our or come to PRN, or you see our virtual platforms, you watch our classes, Keep Your Power, Recovery 101, Recovery 201, Rapping with Sharon. Sharon G is a G. She's been doing this for 15 years. She just celebrated her 15th year at PRN. She's an excellent facilitator, excellent teacher, and she is a true recovery champion. And we have a squad. We have a formidable team. And so addiction, mental unwellness, you want to come at us, we got something for you. We are a formidable team, and we dig in for our people. So thank you for the love. Please make sure that you share this conversation. Everybody that's on your social media platforms, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, please. We're trying to get 10,000 viewership, and we're going to make it happen. So, because my goal is like 50, but I got to start with 10. So let's get those numbers and keep them moving. So recovery champions, that's what we're talking about. That's where we are tonight. We want to celebrate not just the work, but those who put the grind in, those who come to the grind house and make that happen. And one such person is Brianna Strickland. One such person is Brianna Strickland. I'm going to say it one more time. One such person is Brianna Strickland. She is a team member, a valuable team member, an important team member, an impactful team member. But that is 1B. 1A is she's a wonderful person. And when people talk about Brianna, I've only heard great things about Brianna. Got an opportunity to see Brianna yesterday. It was like this person that I see on the virtual all the time. It was like going into a store, Lisa Kaye, going into a Target, and boom, there's the person you saw on the news this morning, right? There's the weather lady right there at the counter. And so, Brianna, welcome to Through the Eyes of Others. Lisa and I have talked about having you on for a while, and here you are. Brianna, say hello to our folks and chime in for us.
Hello, everyone out there that are joining in or that will join in later. Thank you both for allowing me to share this space. And I just love the connection, the camaraderie, the spirit of service and lifting one another up and looking out for ourselves. This class, I love the name of it, Through the Eyes of Others, because I think that it's so important, and it's been something that's sort of shaped my entire life, not only looking into myself, but trying to really look at other people's experiences as well to have a greater understanding. So you want me to just get into it? How's this go?
Before you get into it, what I would like to do, we want you to get into it, but Lisa, can you go to our community and just tell us who's on and welcome them in and say hello to them if you don't mind?
Yeah, well, we have our Ariel on saying hey to everybody, another champion. Miss Kim Porter always is in the house. I mean, she is the queen of PRN. She really is. And not only does she answer our phones and takes good care of us, she is on our platforms all the time, supporting us and diving in too. So welcome, Kim. She's saying hello, and hello to you, Brianna. Paul Michael says that's awesome. I think he's referring to you, Aaron, and the work that you and Sharon did today. Hearing that's great news. It's awesome news. We have Miss Holly on board with us today, saying hello to everybody, and glad to see Miss Holly on. And we got Mr. Bob, one of my new friends, champions at PRN. Glad to see him, saying greetings to us. And Holly, I love it when our folks talk to each other on this comment line. I just love it. I absolutely love it when they saying hello and they're encouraging each other. I see that a lot through through Just for Today. And I think in the morning, those champions in the morning at 6:30 drinking their coffee, they're just a group of their own, buddy. They're just loving on each other. So I love to see you guys encourage each other and say hello on our chat. So, but that's who we got right now. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Lisa Kaye. So, Brianna, let's talk about it. When you decided that wellness and recovery was the yellow brick road you were going to travel, when you made a decision that that's the direction of life, what was going on with Brianna when she said, I'm going that direction, I'm building life this way? What was happening in Brianna's life?
Well, there was a lot happening. One of the most distinct times that stands out to me when I said, something's got to change and it starts here, was at the time I was in a really abusive relationship. I had been with this person for 5 years after I moved out and left my home. And there was a lot of, violence, and we had gotten into a really bad fight, and I had a bloody face and nearly died, and walked away from that and looked in that rearview mirror of my car. And I said, I'm not going to be my mother. I'm not going to repeat this story. I'm tired of how everything's going. And I don't know the way out yet, but I'm going to start here. And so it was a lot of things that led up to that, and many things that followed after that. The journey of wellness and recovery for me, was everything. And it came in a lot of unique ways, through communities that I got involved in along the way, different mindfulness communities as well, that really showed me love and kept saying, what happened to you, and holding that kind of space. I'm kind of following here. Do you want me to kind of get into the deeper part of the story? Is that where we're at?
You flow is whatever makes you comfortable, right? So whatever it is, connect us to where we're moving forward.
Perfect. I always go back to the roots of where I come from. My parents were really young. They were 16 and 18 when they got together, and they were escaping a lot of intergenerational trauma that was passed on, and didn't know where else to go, but they were in love. And they said, all right, we're going to find a way out of here. And by the time Mom was 22, she had 4 kids. And my father had dropped out of school to try to raise a family. What that resulted in was, because they didn't have a lot of support, it was very traumatic, raising 4 kids and essentially being kids, so there was a lot of poverty. My dad he ended up picking up a lot of different unhealthy ways of coping to deal with his stuff. He was, abusive. He used alcohol and substances, and didn't really, have a lot modeled in that way. So he would come home and take that out when he was home, if he was home. There was always this sort of in and out. You never knew, is he dead or alive? And because of the, my mother, she tried to turn to everything she could, and again, being in a lot of poor rural towns, often the support, as we see in our world, is often lacking. She was able to get, Section 8 housing and Medicaid and food stamps, and trying to do that kind of grind. But she wasn't able to work because she had complex PTSD and other things from what she was going through at the time and where she came from. So that really just created, like I said, a lot of struggles, that came out on us. And as me, I was the oldest child as well. So there was often, this space of like, you're mama and daddy, and and then I remember just being in between, like, their fights all the time, things that are really common in those kind of scenarios, and just always being the new kid. I mean, I went to, I think, 14 different schools total. We moved, it could be, once a year, 6 months, couple years, you just never knew. And that was always difficult as well. I mean, now I look at it in a term of like also the resiliency that I was able to adapt in those environments. But sure enough, like in those times, right, that was a lot. And I didn't have a lot of, again, models in my life, in my family. Like so many, it was hush, hush, what goes on at home doesn't go out anywhere else. I remember going to school with bruises, or, people asking questions, and you just like, make up things, whatever happens. And, my mother finally left my father when I was about 12 years old, like officially, like no more of this back and forth kind of thing. He had literally tried to kill us multiple times because of like, when his mental health, he was in and out of jail. He was in and out of like hospitals, on the road, doing construction, really hard lifestyle. And my mother was like, we're going to try again. We're going to pick it up and start over again. Well, because of all of that, and me internalizing so much of the abuse that was going on at home, emotionally, physically, all that stuff, I really was like, just took it all to heart and felt like it was me, that I couldn't figure this thing out. Like, and then there was also this anger and rage of what did I do to be born into this much pain and struggle? Everyone around me at school seems to have normal lives and this and that, or, what seemed, especially in my little mind. Now I know it's much more dynamic than that, and often not what it seems, even if it seems really good. And just, we all got a story. But around that time when we moved, I was just so over it. I became a runaway. So I started trying to escape everything that I was feeling at home by finding refuge somewhere else. Being, 12 and in those early teenage years doing that, no, that's a rough place. I experienced a lot. That was also the time I started using, drugs and alcohol to try to like cope, because it was around me. It was encouraged, and, that was a way, which shit, we've all had it hard. Let's do this. And, that was like really tough, because, I remember one time, it was and I was getting, for everyone out there, please like honor yourself. There's, I'm vulnerable, but do know that some of my story, I won't go deep into it, but it involves a lot. I was experiencing several sexual assaults during that time. And I felt like I don't know where to go. I don't know who to turn to. And I remember it being so cold, and on this one particular winter day, and me just feeling like I don't know any way out except to try to like maybe take myself out. Luckily, there were a lot of people looking for me, as they did every time, and found me. And it just became this back and forth cycle. I always excelled at school. It was a place that, I felt like I could, do something that learn and make a difference and all those sort of things. But yeah, that shifted a lot. I just realized, how little like people in my life that I had to turn to. We didn't, really have a lot of that. So there was many things that the path went in and out of with that. And I also experienced a near fatal car accident in high school. I was dead, and, made it back. And that was a big shift too, of like, holy crap, I like broke nearly every bone in my body. I'm in high school. Life sucks. Like, there's been all this stuff. I've had to grow up so fast. And I remember wanting to be like, this is, it, but I still didn't quite have everything I needed. And at the time I was still using, especially, just alcohol and different substances to really mask a lot of what I was going through. I, was like, told throughout my life many different things, misdiagnoses or, medicated and, trying different therapy sessions, but no one was really like hearing me, and it was a lot. But like I said, around that time that I mentioned was a big shift. It was like from that time of the accident and when I left home and was like, I'm out on my own, I had to see, I was carrying just like so much pain. And I was always the light for so many other people, but I didn't know how to keep that light on inside,
Yeah. So, Brianna, and thank you for the boldness to be able to share your story. So we've watched you, visualizing this, right? So we're watching what you've gone through, and so many parts of your story connect. For me personally, and I'm sure for those who are watching. What did you latch on to as you begin to build out of the pain, begin to build out of what had become your life resume? What did you latch on to that began the journey of wellness and recovery? After you said, I've got to do something different, what did you latch on to that began to take you in the direction where we find you today?
The first thing that comes to mind is like my spirituality, my outlook, and love. Like, I was always curious at what made things happen. And so going into those studies, like, I'm a reader and I love like, learning and lyrics and like movies and all these things that represent those things. So I just started digging deeper into, like, who am I, and who, like, how do I want to shape this? And so I don't know, like, I started turning to a lot of different things and like looking at how many people believed in me. I didn't do like I never went through like, like a traditional like recovery program or anything like that. I just always kind of followed my heart. And that led me in a lot of different ways. I started looking to people, the people I looked up to, and listening, what did they do, and trying a little bit of this and a little bit of that until I found the combination of what worked for me, and knowing that, like, it can be like so many different things, right? And on so many different days, I might need this thing or that thing. But I remember being like, when I was younger, my dream, and even though things were hard, I was able to look back. Mom still tried to, have like dance classes and music and, encourage those sort of things. So I just held on to all those little pieces along the way of like what gave me hope, and doing that inner child care of like, remembering even when things throughout my life seem really bad, I want to cultivate that. And I remember saying like, it's so great to be here and a part of PRN. And I know we'll get into all that too of like, but I used to always say, I want to work in like mental health and I want to work with people. I know I'm not the only one. And I know there are other people out there like feeling what I feel and that have suffered and have like so much pain that they're carrying. And I want to be able to like be there and like show that. And I wanted to also have the creative arts, and use that as a way of expressing. So that's another thing that I use to like channel, reclaiming my voice, writing, exploring like what it's like to like, use this and try new things and work with other people in those ways. So yeah, I feel like I'm talking a lot.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine. You're taking us on your journey, and I can only speak for me, but I'm grabbing hold of it. And
Yeah.
I asked you what you latched on. I've latched on to the visuals of your journey, and I get that. And this is your journey has some parts of it that resonate with me, right? As far as recovery, as far as wellness. I want to ask you this before I turn it over to Lisa Kaye. Your siblings, and so you're the oldest of 4, correct?
Yes.
So how did your siblings in watching, because my oldest sister Theodora, she transitioned a couple of years ago, but as I think of her often, my love of music came from her. I started getting high with her, right?
Right.
I became rebellious because I saw her do it, right? I became a critical thinker because I saw so many things, right?
Yes.
I watched Teddy because she was the trailblazer. She was the oldest. So she was like, they tested her out and then the rest of us figured it out. You being the oldest, how did what you go through, what you went through, also as you built out, how did your siblings look at you, and how did watching you go through affect them from the negative perspective? And as you have built this wonderful life of recovery and wellness, how has that affected your siblings?
That is a very tender place. Because, well, I think what I hear is the hope and the love that I remind them of. And I'm sure there's some negative things too, and hard things, because I've had to put some boundaries down for my own mental health. I had to remove, because so much of our family on all sides, there's a lot of heavy addiction and just unhealthy things. And, I decided I wanted to break the cycle. And that means I had to step away and not always be there for them in ways that, as it goes on and I work through over the years and continue, it's a lifelong practice of those wounds and the shame and guilt that can get attached to those places. I've had to really work through that because at times I felt like I abandoned them. But, I don't really have, our family isn't and I say this because not everybody has this, and just to have that transparency, there's not weekly phone calls, monthly. We don't see each other even once a year. That's just how it is. And all of them are still living through that story of like, a lot of them have been able to kick like addictions and stuff like that. But they're still really, really struggling in poverty with a lot of kids, their mental health and their physical health. And they're all younger than me, and I'm only 33. You know, and the more that I've learned about ACEs and all these things, it's hard sometimes, but I feel like when we're together, they also say like my sense of humor. It may not seem like it because sometimes I'm shy or serious, but I always learned to like crack a joke and like make somebody smile, even when it was so. When we do get together, there's usually some cutting up and laughing and throwing back on old times of, you know, different stories of, you remember when you did that? That was crazy. Like, but yeah, so I carry their journey and their stories with me too. It's why I show up in the world. I'm carrying all of that here.
Thank you so very much, Lisa Kaye. I want to say yes, right, to Brianna's courage, both in sharing her story and in going into some places that wouldn't be places that you just want to go. And the fact that you went there to share with us, we appreciate it. So, Lisa Kaye, I want to turn it over to you as I salute Brianna hanging out with us. Lisa Kaye?
Yeah, awesome story. Just want to bring attention to some of the chats that are going on about Brianna sharing tonight. I think are just awesome. We have another one of our recovery champions that popped on that works with us, Miss Erin P. I'm glad to see her shouting out to all of us. But Miss Holly, I know, knows you well. Miss Holly knows all of us well. All of us on the screen and a lot of us that are on tonight have fallen in love with this lady. She has a lot of great things that she wanted to share with you, and I just wanted to bring some of those out. But she first says that, you know, your bravery and resilience is amazing, and love to you. And she could, you know, relate to your story. Sounds so familiar, right? Brianna, Kristen also that works with us as well. She's on saying thank you for sharing. Love that phrase, inner child care. And we are definitely going to talk about that in a minute. Miss Bonnie says, I know you so well from the warm line. You are beautiful, and I find myself speechless in how to express my love for you and others who have grown in the middle of such a destructive life born into, right? She also says, was making comments when you were talking about your siblings being the oldest. And she said, my older siblings would have cared nearly as much as you did. Wow. Again, speechless. Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. She also commented about your inner self-care was living through the way you cared for others. You setting boundaries was your beautiful shift. Wow. Very good, Miss Holly. And you all, she loves us. Yeah, Miss Holly is a great champion as well. And I always love talking to her because we may help her feel better at times, but she sure breathes a lot into us, or she did with me. I can only speak for me, but I've heard so much testimony around Miss Holly, and just the interactions and the talk that goes back and forth with whoever's talking with her. We always walk away with so much more than we had before we answered the phone or talked with this lady. So thank you, Miss Holly. So yeah, I want to go. I want to shift, and I wrote some things down. That's what I do. I hear things, and I wait to hear how it's going to unravel. Right. First of all, you know, I think a lot of folks are going to relate to a lot. And one of the things that I just wanted to talk about a second and bring light to is you actually made this statement that you blamed yourself. You said this right after you talked about your dad's barriers and how he, you know, you explained it so beautifully about trying to understand in your spirit, trying to understand why things happen the way they did, being children themselves, trying to raise 4 children. And the inner self of your dad, having to work and finding other ways to cope. And so I just wanted to bring light to that, because not only did you blame yourself, which a lot of us can relate to that, and we know better now, right? We know better now, but we didn't know better then, and we really lived in that. We blamed ourselves. But I wanted to speak to your resilience. You're very young. You're 33 years old. You're not 53. You're 33. And to be able to articulate in your spirit around trying to understand, right? Doesn't make things right. The abuse,
Right.
whatever, doesn't make it right. But for you to sit back as a resilient young woman and love your parents enough to actually think about that and where they were in their lives, just trying to understand. I just want to speak to that. It doesn't, like we said, doesn't make it right. But
Right.
I think healing begins or can start forgiveness when we can sit and just consider through their eyes and what they were experiencing as young children, having children. And I believe there's a lot of healing in that. And I believe that probably started your healing journeys to where you stopped blaming yourself. So I'd like for you to speak about that a minute. When did you stop blaming Brianna? Because at one time you were taking care of your siblings. You were the mom and the dad. There was abuse going on. You were watching your parents just kind of implode in front of you, and you were taking on adult responsibilities as a child. So of course you blamed yourself. You were
Right.
carrying the weight of the whole entire family on your shoulders. When did you stop blaming Brianna?
Yeah, again, I think it was a process. A few things come up for me of the mirror, coming back on that, and thinking about when with my father, for example, when I was 22, he was involved in an unexpected accident. And they said he had 2 days to live. And up until that point, for the last 4 years, I'd been speaking to him through poetry, I'd go and visit him and stay with him. And I'd try to understand. And here's this poem. I think I can say it better this way. Does that make sense? Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. But when I got the call about that accident, and I have a lot of spiritual different things. This was something I had that came to me in dreams as well. But I had to make that decision to, drive 5 hours, however long it was, to this emergency room where he was, because my uncle was like, he's probably not going to make it. And sure enough, he had to come off. Well, he just started. He was having so much internal bleeding that I had to make the decision. He wasn't remarried at the time. And being the oldest, I had to make the decision to take him off life support. And everything kind of in all this stuff just really came to a head. And when I made that decision, I remember, the couple of months that followed really spiraling in that place, with this wound of blame again. I didn't do enough. I'm not enough. I did the wrong thing. And I was able to, somebody said to me, no, you didn't. And I had to sit with that a little bit more, and, through therapy and many different outlets. But I just started being you're right. I am not to blame. These things are all a part of something different. And I knew that for me to really, live the kind of liberated, healing life that I want to live and continue to step into, that thread goes deep. And so that was a big shift for me. And then I had another big event that happened as well around something that had happened to me that was in our family for 27 years, and I never got clarity around it. And when I used my voice and had that connection with my mom, and we finally had that space, I feel like that's when, again, that kind of solidified like the reality of just how deep all of these different things went, and that it was so much more than me. So I really continued to pour my heart and soul into some really deep, heavy therapy and lots of movement and music and community and many listening ears. I don't know if that quite answers the question, because sometimes I get, really into it. And I mean, that thing, and it's not like it goes away, right? Like every so often you'll have a thing and you'll notice that little kid in you again, or that old wounded self feeling this thing. And you gotta, what I've learned is to take the space to work with that and see and listen and pour that love back in.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I wanted to bring light to that, because I think there are people listening now and people that'll listen later. They're still blaming themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a terrible place to be. I've been there myself. And I sometimes go back there and revisit it and have to do some work all over again, right? Carrying it. So I just felt like we needed to, just felt in my soul, we needed to bring light to that, because they needed to hear from you about what that was like and how you were able to let that go.
Yeah. The weight just at some point I don't know. It's like, when you've gone through so much, right? And there's so much in life, it's like, I want to live. I don't want to carry this weight anymore. I don't deserve to talk to myself like this. I don't deserve to do these things I'm doing, but I know, but yeah, thank you so much for anyone out there. Yeah. Know that you're not alone in that place, and that it takes time, and that it is uncomfortable, and there's a lot to it, but, yeah, you're not alone. And there's people out there that are, reminding you of that, and that remind us all of that. I wouldn't be here today without, all the kind voices and people who have held that space.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch a little bit and dive a little bit deeper. You made the comment about when Aaron brought you into building out of and jumping into your recovery journey. And when you made that decision, you talked about your spirituality and people believing in you, but you touched too on this inner child care. And I loved how you put that. I've worked in foster care. I was foster parent for 15 years. And then I worked as foster care director for an agency here in Charlotte. And that was one of the things that we discovered through my own lived experience working with foster children. And then, of course, there was a science to it as well, as I discovered. So I didn't discover it, dadgummit. And so as we began to dive in at what we discovered was that if we can help children tap into that inner child care that every child has, most children grow up believing one day they're going to be a doctor, a nurse, a singer, whatever those things are, firefighter, whatever, football player, basketball player. And then all of a sudden their childhood is stripped from them and they become an adult overnight. And all of those things, those creative parts of us that we had as a child, that I believe are divinely given, gets kind of squished. Right. Yeah. And then as an adult, being able to tap into that, or a younger or an older teenager, being able to tap in that. And what I discovered was that it didn't mean that all the pain and hurt went away. but as children and even as adults, sometimes we just can't figure out why. And so we can go to therapy and we can journal it and we can meditate it. We can do all of those things, but we still can't get that answer that we're looking for. And for so many of us in our own spiritual journeys, we had to make a decision where we're going to give it any more attention. And what we help children do is they couldn't figure it out either, right? So instead of spending days and weeks and hours and all that in therapy, which they did a lot of that, we help tap into that inner child by asking curious questions about, what do you want to be when you grow up? What did you used to role play when you were little? Did you practice, and all of a sudden, we ask the right questions, and next thing you know, we're tapping into something that is beautiful. And like I really wanted to be a baseball player, but I never got the chance to play baseball. So guess what we're doing? We're signing them up for community baseball and taking them to the batting cage and buying that glove and bat. And next thing we know, the hurt is still back here, yes, but the sting isn't quite as painful, because now all that energy is now going into swinging this bat, catching this ball, and tapping into that inner child. And we saw miracles happen with children and teenagers and even young adults, because sometimes we just can't figure it out. And we can sit and waste precious time and just sit in it. Or we can still work on it, but tapping into those things that were divinely given to us, right? I wanted to play the piano and wasn't able to do that as a child through some of the same kind of things you described, right? So all my childhood things got squashed. Being a gymnast, playing the piano, was very creative, wanted to do all those things, but I wasn't able to. But I did get to start tapping into those as a young adult, right? And all of a sudden that hurt wasn't quite as painful, the sting. So for you, you talked about you wanted to, and how I described it, what I heard you say is that you, as even a kid, you wanted to work with other hurt people because you knew you weren't the only one, right? You knew it. And you talked about having, you were very creative, your creative heart. And I even heard you say, I believe Tuesday during a staff meeting, that you talked about music, singing, right? You also talked about poetry. So to me, these are divinely given.
Yes.
Right. We can pick up some stuff along the way and learn it. But some of these gut things that we had when we were 3 years old and 5 years old, I remember standing there with a hairbrush pretending I was Karen Carpenter, right? and wanted to be her, right? But so much of that, now we know I can't be Karen Carpenter, and I surely don't sound like her. But we can do. What was it about her? What was it about her music that I tapped into? Now I can think through that, going, why, right? What was it? And then start pulling those things out that are achievable for me. Does it make the pain completely go away? No, but the sting lessens, and you're able to live in it as you try to figure things out through your different dimensions of wellness. So for you, hearing that, well, for me, I didn't hear you talk about like an adult asking you curious questions. It almost sounded like to me, and you can correct me if I missed it, like you discovered this on your own.
Yeah.
Right. You discovered this inner child care on your own, which to me, I did as well as a child. And I think that is beautiful. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think people are really curious about this inner child. So I hope it sparks some thinking and connecting to their inner child. So for you, what was that like? How did you discover that? And how did you, and do you still revisit your inner child care?
Oh yeah, all the time. Gosh, I think last week I was doing a meditation, visiting my inner child, and crying on my bedroom floor, holding her, and then being like, "We got this." But yeah, it wasn't something. I think what sparked the interest was, I noticed and especially having, trauma and like PTSD, all that stuff, like certain flashbacks and right. And like, there was a lot there, and there was a lot in my younger self. And even if it was like something like traffic or, something just didn't go the right way, there was so much. It wasn't just that. I'd still hear and feel this little me, and teenage me and all these versions of me like coming out. So I got curious about it. And then I did have spaces. I mean, life is nonlinear, right? And like so many of us can attest, like we didn't, you don't know where it's going to go. But I kept stepping into places that with following my heart, where I did a lot of non-traditional things. I went and worked on farms, and I went to some holistic healing communities, and, heard more and more of this space of like nurturing that. And then through therapy, being reminded again, that big thing that a lot of us talk about in our journey, when it was like, oh, that was trauma. But yeah, like that inner child, and inner child care is like a newer way I've been saying it, because I found someone named Kuan Yin who phrases it that way, and I just love it. I've always said inner child work, but the inner child, that place of that care, that tenderness, right, is so important. So yeah, it's something I did kind of, when I would, like I said earlier, go back and look at those glimmers, as they're called, of the things that, were coming through from those times. That's kind of just where I would cultivate that. And it's a very, I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, because sometimes talking out loud in these ways, right?
Okay. You are. Yeah. And you are saying things that that people are commenting on. So you're getting through. They are relating to you. Miss Holly even talks about that she talked to her dolls, right? About her hurt and to God at a very young age, right? Yes. And no, I will share here that, and I love this. And I love her vulnerability putting this out there. No, I will share here that is how I gained my name, Holly. My Holly Hobby doll hurt all my hardships.
I love that. Yes.
As well as her puppies, Spunky and Penny. So exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Miss Tara, she is my girl. She says, me too, wanted to play the piano, as well as, don't you remember, you told me you love me, baby.
Yes. Yes. Gosh. Yeah.
Tara, you and I need to get together with some hairbrushes and tap into our inner child care and see what that's about. We might have a future. I don't know. But absolutely. Thank you so much, Brianna, for sharing about just using that phrase tonight. I think there'll be people talking about that. I know I may even do a just for today about that. So that inner child and not rejecting it, but going back and embracing, just like Holly mentioned, embracing her dolls and, and that care. And, I talk to my dogs too, and still do. So,
yes, exactly. Me too. Yeah. And finding spaces in nature was another really big one for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Aaron, what you got for us?
Well, number one, what I have is such a connection to Brianna, you speaking about the inner child care. Just personally, so much of my recovery story has to do with just my life with my dad, right? And not get into it now because this is your spotlight, but a lot of that happened as a young man. I actually have a picture that Lisa has seen, and many of my coworkers, our other coworkers, have seen, and it's about 12 children with no expression, right? Yeah. But their eyes tell the story. And I keep this picture to be able to always understand that the adult that I'm talking to, it's this child inside of them that really is the one that I'm speaking to, because that is where our hurt began. That is where our pain began. That is where our damage began. And so in order to heal and to mend that, we have to be able to speak to that. So I so much appreciate hearing, because what you spoke, I told you, I really truly gravitate to, because that is so much a part of my story as far as healing. And I don't get here today without being able to love, to take care of, and minister to that younger Aaron, right? That
Yes.
Aaron. Yeah. I want to do this if we can. I want to shift gears for just a moment. You, Brianna, have been a stalwart and a builder of our warm line at PRN. And as Lisa mentioned early on the onset, what is happening with the warm line has not only helped us keep doors open during pandemic, because the reality of it is there are a lot of nonprofits our size that didn't make it. With the addition of our virtual calendar back in March 2020 and dusting off and rebooting and doing something new with Warmline, it has really helped not just the sustainability of PRN, it has helped launch us into other areas of our growth. You've been a part of that. Talk about Warmline. Talk about the impact of Warmline. Holly's on. We know we've built relationship. I used to holler and talk to Holly, and Holly's from Allentown, PA. I'm from Philly. So we spent a lot of time chatting together about our commonalities. Tell us about Warmline, the impact of Warmline, your involvement in Warmline. Talk about that right now.
Gosh, yeah. The warm line, is our 24/7 line to reach out and have somebody with a listening ear who can, relate to some of those things. And it's very trauma informed and intentional, and such a gift. The number just popped up right there. Bam. And it's 365 as well. I mean, somebody is always there, and it is so impactful across the nation in light of everything that's gone on over the last going on 2 years, right? There was a significant increase in warm lines, which we know it's just so much different than those crisis lines, how we kind of navigate those spaces and the time we're able to give. So it's incredibly impactful. I encourage anyone. I remember along the way, times where I was hurting or suffering or thinking about taking my life, like whatever it was, being afraid to reach out. It's such a gift. Everyone who works on the warm line are amazing recovery warriors themselves, and are just there. So I am I work on the warm line Monday through Friday during the day, and I'm a team lead, so I kind of help with a lot of other different organizational things and making sure our amazing people that are on the line are also taking care of themselves and trying to throw in some love and maybe an occasional funny gift or something like that. But it's a great resource, and I'm so grateful that Promise Resource Network has it available. So if you haven't called and you need to talk to someone, call. And for those of you that we are connected to, like Miss Holly, gosh, I miss talking to you. It's been a minute, and anyone else on here, but just reach out.
So if someone wanted to be a part of the warm line, what is criteria to be part of the warm line? If somebody wanted to staff the warm line and come on and bring their gifts and talents of active listening and being able to share lived experience, what would a person do? What's that process like?
Really, it's just reaching out. It's everyone on there is lived experience. We have people that have peer support certification and all of that. It's important, but it's not necessary. So if you feel like it speaks to you, then reach out to the Promise Resource Network and follow through. And if there's space for that, we'll make it happen. The trainings that we do are really intensive and thorough and trauma informed. So there's a lot of additional professional development that happens along the way. But if you're a person who feels like, you're in a place in your journey of wellness and recovery that you're ready to, give back in that way, then I would say start there.
Okay.
Is that
Now,
good?
it's all good. It's all good. So
That's right.
Focus on Wellness. Tell us about Focus on Wellness. You are
Yes.
facilitator of that wonderful platform. Tell us about Focus on Wellness.
Focus on Wellness is a class that happens bi-weekly. Check out our calendar along with all the other classes. It's at 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. It's kind of shifted like a lot of things as we adapt over time. It's now myself, and I occasionally try to have as many guests as possible. We roll with it and see what happens. But it's a space to just explore healing and wellness that taps on those 8 dimensions, whichever ones speak to you, kind of like the root of a lot of our classes. Each one has its own unique spin, but it's, how are we getting through this, time in the world that we're going through right now? And then, what's kind of helped you along the way? What speaks to your heart? Let's get, the matters of the heart and healing. So
thank you so much. And I am encouraging everyone, if you don't have an opportunity on those every other Wednesday to watch, you can always see it again in the evening, right? It's on your virtual platform. So please not only support, grab something for yourself from Focus on Wellness, and please make sure you share. Lisa Kaye, it's about that time. We're going to start putting the yacht in the dock. It's almost time for the plane in the hangar. We'll be changing seasons pretty soon. Lisa's about that time. What do you have for us from community, and what are your last words, good buddy?
Well, I just wanted to show this right quick. Denise Green,
yes,
our lovely Denise, she quickly typed out anyone interested in being a part of the Warm Line can reach out to Bunny Holston, and she gave her email address there. B. Holston at promiseresourcenetwork.org if you're interested. So I just wanted to bring light to that for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yep. And so which just brings us that, Miss Denise was on with us, and she happened to let us know that her dogs talk. So we may have her dogs on for Through the Eyes of Others.
I would love to see that.
Yes, to see her dogs through her dog's eyes, hear about Denise and, the dog's trauma and I'm just teasing. Journey or whatever. I'm just picking on Miss Denise. Miss Denise, that's funny because I think my dogs talk too. And Miss Tara Jones and I are going on Broadway soon and to a theater near you. So we're going to get together and start practicing our Karen Carpenters with our hairbrushes. We have Mr. Kyle Hester on saying good evening to us and letting us know he's out there. And let's see. And please send the Warm Line link to Kyle. Okay. So we just we have the number up there. I think that might be what he means. But if you're interested in Kyle or Kyle in working the Warm Line, here's that there. And anybody else that might be interested can reach out to Miss Bunny, and she can give you that information and tell you how to apply and what the requirements are for sure.
All right. Well, Lisa, since I got you on there, boom, there you go.
Okay. So we are open. Can't shout that loud enough, right? With so many things not open still, we are open. And Miss Kim Porter is our queen who answers the phone. And Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, 704-390-7709. Give her a shout if you need to talk a little bit about what we do at PRN and how you can get involved or how we can help you. If you want to talk to any of us that you see, you can ask Miss Kim to have one of us give you a call, and we surely will. But give us a call if you have any questions around anything about PRN, our calendar, our website, Facebook. She is the guru.
Lisa Kaye, thank you so very much. Brianna, any last words from you besides the fact that you're going to at some point give me an invitation to come on wellness, focus on wellness?
I
But
would love to.
it's not like I'm
Yeah,
being pushy.
no.
It's not like I'm being pushy or anything.
It's a great, yeah, no, I have, gosh, yeah, I guess always want to give gratitude. Yeah, for this space, for the opportunity to share. Your mind kind of always jumps. I'm like, oh gosh, there's so much I said I didn't get to say, but I said what I needed to say in this space, and everything you all shared as well out there, and you and Lisa, is so meaningful, and it's like a heart balm. So thank you so much, and I hope that, yeah, I will catch you some other way, some other time.
Brianna, it is such a pleasure. Thank you so much for responding to the invite and coming on to bless Lisa and I first, and to bless our community of
Yeah.
recovery champions. This is Through the Eyes of Others with Aaron and Lisa Kaye and Brianna. Conversations with extraordinary people about their lives of resilience. We heard that tonight. Wellness, we heard that tonight. And healing, we heard that tonight. Brianna, thank you so much. Lisa Kaye, both of you, love you. Talk to you soon. Great serving with you. Everybody, we'll catch you. See you next week, 6:30 Wednesday.
All
Have
the
a great
love.
Bye-bye.